Close your eyes and just relax. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to wire you to receive love. Just breathe in, hold it, and let it go. Keep breathing. Receive that.
Say, how do I forgive when there's no reason at all? Behind these walls I live as the devil he calls. I'm tempted at every side and I see no way out. My burden, I bear this fight. I know I must free my soul. I become aware that I am the presence in me in town. This face as I step past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. Steadfast, I know, facing thee, no evil on my path, and on some love will be the power that breaks the night, the power that breaks the night. I become aware that I am the presence in me in town. This face as I step past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. I become aware that I am the presence in me in town. The spaces I stare past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. I said the terror won't find me, the fear can't bind me, no burdens to bear at all. Awaken, I put my cares behind me, my cares behind me. I become aware that I am the presence in me, its own space as I step past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, yeah.
Greetings. Let's get this rocking and rolling. I got to get my gloves on, and then we're going to go for a little walk, and we'll do a little talk. Now, if you did not watch my last transmission, you should do that. I broke down the Gospel of Thomas for you, which you can't just hear it one time. You got to go back to this stuff all the time. This is the hot, like sizzling, juicy stuff that like takes you out of world thought and puts you into the kingdom. Sardius stone, okay? Sardius, S-A-R-D-I-U-S. Not that it matters, but it's a symbolic thing. It's a gesture. Okay. Let's get some of the beauty of the screen here. Get that nice. I'm taking in the last few of these precious, precious warm days because this is really where it's at for me. The water, it does something in my consciousness. You know, water is fluidity, it's cash flow, it's liquidity. It represents, you know, the tide coming in, the tide going out, current, movement, currency, all of those things. Water represents thought in the Bible. It represents thought. Turning water into wine, miracle of Jesus. It means to turn your thoughts into the truth by adhering to the truth, sticking to the gospel of good. That's exactly what the book of Thomas is about in the Gnostic Bible. It's very, very important that we stand on watch duty all day, every day, knowing the thoughts that our Father in heaven is sending to us, so we can be of one mind, of a sound mind, in one atonement, okay, at one with the mind of God. Let's take that sound in for a minute. It's beautiful. Well, if you don't know, at MatthewDavidHurtado.com on TikTok, join me there. We're getting good, really good traction there. And there's an absolute miraculous breakthrough going on. The Eye of God technique was perfected, and thank you, Randy Wise. Randy Wise, in our last Spiritual Special Forces workshop, he's one of our Spiritual Special Forces group members, the team that came out and we prayed and we did the 4 sessions praying in world peace. Absolutely. Well, God told me the Eye of God, that's the name of the retreat. I didn't have a clue what that meant. No clue whatsoever. I never know until I get there what God's doing, and then I just turn within and listen in real time. That's the secret. Don't try to plan your life according to your human will. You may succeed. You might. And it's useful to use your human will. But you use your human will to be holding your concept of relationship, of you and the Father, in check. That's what you use it for. In other words, here I am in the present moment reflecting God's kingdom. Now, if God already is all, has all, and does all, what am I trying to do to chase things into this world for? Shouldn't I just relax and allow for God to open up the windows of heaven and pour me out a blessing so much so that I have not enough room to receive it? Or should I try to do it my own way and lean on human reasoning? Well, I think the latter is how I spent the majority of my 20s trying to, white knuckle fight my way to success, and it didn't work. So eventually I just relaxed and stopped doing that. Maybe it's time for you to stop doing that. If you've tried it 100 times or 10 times or 1,000 times and it doesn't work, then why do you keep doing it? All right. Anyway, Randy came up with the idea that we're in the eye of the storm. And so the eye of God represents the eye of the storm. That technique gave me a massive breakthrough. Massive breakthrough. If you don't know that technique, here's just a suggestion. Our private Discord group, Spiritual Special Forces, you can go to effectiveloving.com. I'll spell it for you. No, actually, the link's below. Just go to the link below. I don't want to spell it for you. It takes too long. effectiveloving.com. Okay? You join the Discord group and you watch the replays. I'd watch all of them because every one of them's, you just take a couple nuggets from each transmission apply it to your life, and you'll start scaling up rapidly. You will level up big time. Because wisdom is the principal thing. Get understanding. It says in the Bible, Solomon says, get understanding. Wisdom. That's what we teach here, wisdom. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to anybody in our group. It belongs to God. And we just sort it out, find it, and use it. Now, the eye of God allows you to level up by giving you crystal clarity, precision focus. Okay, that's transmission number 7. Ironically enough, spiritual number 7, it happened to be transmission number 7. I just posted the video today in the replays. Make sure you check out all the links in the left-hand column. I have tons and tons of free training for you there that others have invested thousands to come and learn, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, because you get into life, you put into life what you expect to get out of it. That's how this works. You're the source. I never hesitate to sow money into the gospel, ever. I never hesitate to sow time, energy, and focus into the gospel, ever. I'm with you right now. I have a lot of other things I could be doing, but this is my way of sowing my time. Okay? And then you sow your attention by holding the pure mind of God, being on watch duty all day, every day, knowing the thoughts of God. If you don't know what those are, well, then you're at a major disadvantage. We teach that day in and day out here. In fact, if you want to gamify the experience, you go to the left-hand column in the Discord group and you get the RIP app, Rest in Peace app, Dead to the World, Live in Spirit. Those are 78 different cards that you use in a spread. And I'll teach you how to do it. You go watch the link, watch the training. 5 minutes later, you'll know how to use it. Download the app on your phone, and you can tune into wisdom throughout the day. See, here's the big idea. Right where you stand, God's running a perfect universe right here. It happens to be unseen by your human 5 senses. The 5 senses are observing the carnal mind's reflection of a material world. That material world is a very limited spectrum of what you call reality. It's actually a shadow of the light. The light of truth is upholding itself perfectly intact, running a perfect universe. Your mission here is to know those thoughts, to attune yourself to those thoughts, and to live according to those truths in spite of what your 5 human lying senses are telling you. That's the way out of this matrix. Exit the matrix of dreaming. Why spend the time to do it? Because all that the Father hath is mine. Well, you only know that when you demonstrate these truths by proving them. What God wants you to do, and there's only one part in the whole Bible, so prove me now, herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, is to put God to the test. God wants you to put God to the test. You're here to refine your soul so you can ascend to the Spirit I am and be considered worthy. Okay? It's almost like going to a skills conditioning camp that you call this lifetime, and you're thrown in the water and you don't know how to swim. And so then you're in the water and you're gasping about, and you're like, help, help, I'm drowning, I'm drowning. And wisdom comes along, and it throws you a life vest. And so you put your life vest on, and wisdom says, okay, I got you. You're not going to drown now, but here's the deal. You will freeze to death out there in that cold water unless you start swimming back to the boat. You got to swim back to the boat. See, wisdom's going to come, okay? You will get the thoughts of God. Wisdom will come. It'll prevent you from drowning in the abyss, in the underworld. That's where you are in the 5 human senses. You're in the underworld. When you get wisdom, you must swim back, repent, turn back to the Father by changing your behavior. Your attitude toward life determines what life opens up and reflects back to you. The best way to find out with precision, clarity and focus so you can have a proven plan of action of your highest priority target. 80% of success is choosing the right target. Most people are scattered. They're doing all sorts of busy work, going absolutely nowhere because they have no idea that the fundamental principle of life is seeking full expression through them. That is the purpose of their life experience. Now, if they don't unfold their potential, then they keep going over the same lesson again and again and again and again and again, and they keep repeating these same cycles. The names and faces change in the dream of the human five senses, but the pattern, the structure, the lesson has to be met before you get to the next level. And you want to level up. That's what you're here for, okay? The Eye of God technique will give you absolute laser focus. It'll show you exactly where life is seeking to unfold potential through you. Everything is looking to unfold to its full potential, and everything wants love and appreciation. Everything created by God, that's the truth of your life, is you are here and you are unfolding potential so that you can become spiritually unequal with the Christ. Because you are the Christ, and you fell asleep in a dream. And the way out of the dream are taking these steps. Okay? Point blank, there it is. Now, disclaimer, you're not going to get this right the first time. The best way for you to do this, and this is what I'm going to do for the next several weeks, you must come on to the live stream trainings that we do. Wednesday nights, we do them at 6 p.m. Central. And Sunday, we're going to move the time slot from 10 a.m. Central to 1 p.m. Central time. Okay? Notice the time is going to change to 1 p.m. Central on Sunday. This way, if you go to church in the early morning, you can go to your regular church, attend that. And if you want to come to the Spiritual Special Forces Church online, I definitely encourage you to do that, because we are the fundamental building blocks of applying the gospel, not just tuning in once a week and, yeah, this is really neat, I like this, and then going right back to what you're doing before. No spiritual growth happened whatsoever. What we do here is we imagine this. Imagine if you, and by the way, I want you to be on the live stream because we're going to train. That's what I was going to say to you, is that we're going to train. Come and train. You're not going to learn the technique on your own. I promise you're going to goof it all up, because it's very intuitive and it requires an adept to walk you through the intuitive process. And I'll do that for you, or one of our teammates, one of our Spiritual Special Forces operators will do that for you. We are the Spiritual Special Forces. All right? Now, come, participate, get your bread of life, and go. You know what? You can keep it all a little secret. You don't tell anybody you're doing this crazy thing with these people that think that they're Spiritual Special Forces. Who are these people anyway? Oh my gosh. You can kind of keep us tucked away, you know. We're like that hidden, that secret pleasure that you yearn for, because it really satisfies. But then, you know, to be all safe in the world so everybody approves of you, because you still want to give your power to this world yet, you can go participate in your usual church, and, you know, you can play the role of, I'm a good person, just like everybody else. But, you know, we're like the secret clandestine force, okay? You want the goods? We got the goods. That's the whole point. Here's the deal. I'm not saying the other churches don't have the goods. There are many of them that are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful places to go. But if you find yourself lacking, like, I'm just not receiving the message, man, it's not working in my life, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, then try us out. See what happens. All right? Now, I want you to come to the live streams. I want you to be there. I'll repeat that again. You go to effectiveloving.com, you join the Discord group, you check out all the links on the left, start your training, okay? In fact, in the pinned section, I walk you through basic elements of basic training. Why do you want to do this stuff? Well, I'm laying out a foundation for my life's purpose and my calling. I was called to be a priest in this capacity, okay? In 2009, I was bedridden, bankrupt, Lyme disease. Very, very bad time. Very, very hard. Obviously, you know the story. I train like a pro athlete today. I got out of that challenge because of wisdom, because of some of the techniques you're going to learn, because of turning to God only, okay? I manifested multiple millions of dollars that have come through the businesses and the ministry, etc. Who cares? I don't use it for personal gain. It's a demonstration of God's power, not mine, okay? I'm not here to tell you that I'm great. I'm here to tell you that God is all. And that the one thing I want to show you in this capacity of ministering to you is that I may be even less adept than you. But my heart yearns for God. And because my heart cries out for God daily, therein lies the mystery of how the grace comes into my life. Because I love God. And because I love God, see, the wisdom comes through me. Because I'm having a relationship with wisdom. God sends wisdom to you when you love the Father within. Not up in the sky, the Father within. The living presence, the I am. Okay, there you go. Just some nuggets here. Spiritual special forces. Well, years have gone by. A lot of things have been manifested and demonstrated. In fact, I even got to share the stage twice with Michael Jaco, former SEAL Team 6. Learned a lot about intuitive abilities from him and got to model a lot of things that he taught. Very, very amazing. Very, very blessed. All right. That was a dream. I wanted to do that. All right. There are so many people that you could hear from. In fact, if you go to effectiveloving.com, you can click on the testimonials and you can hear a fraction of the testimonials that we've received throughout the last few years since this ministry started. And listen to some of the stories of transformation. Again, you need to remove persons out of the deal here. Listen to the wisdom. Don't look at the package. I'm hiding in the shadows, can't you see? You don't see much of this guy because I'm hiding in the shadows. I bring the light because the light is the wisdom. It's for you. It's here. It's now. It's real time. So we turn within in real time, every moment. The Christ within you meets you when you turn your thought to the root, to a spiritual fact. You become settled in your heart of that fact being eternal, that it never changes. You rest your case against why you should stand up against any of the 5 sense illusions that are coming to you, because you know that it's a deficiency. The outer is nothing more than a shadow. You can't see my shadow, but if I had a shadow here, like the shadow of the trash can, would I throw my garbage in the shadow? Would I walk by and take my garbage of what I just ate, just throw it in the shadow? No. Well, that's what you're doing when you try to take human thought as to something that's happening in this world. Is you're throwing something into the shadow and expecting it to do the right thing. That's not how the game works. You go to the principle thing. That's casting the shadow. The principle is a divine truth. It's being counterfeited in a shadow world that your 5 human carnal-brained senses that Paul described as the carnal mind are reporting to you, and they're trying to tell you that it's factual evidence when it's anything but. It's falsehood, fiction. Materiality is an illusion. It's a temporal dream. You're asleep when you see persons, when you see conditions of 3D objects that you call matter. These are shadows. The light, the source, it's your pure awareness within, in the non-judgmental capacity, the observer. You are the observer. The observing and the process of observing all in the same moment. And step back beyond that, and pure awareness itself is the pure mind of God. And when you are being of the pure mind of God, then you are resting in your position of peace, dead to the world and alive in spirit. And then you turn with a divine truth. You turn your focus to a divine truth. And you allow for that divine truth to bring you in contact with the living, pulsating, palpitating presence of Christ. The Christ comes to you in this capacity. And it is not your job to change anything out there. Christ has already overcome the world. That which in you is greater than that which is in the world. So you take your attention off the effects of out here that have no cause. The password is no cause. They have no cause. What are these objects in time and space? Why does the physical world exist? Okay, well, why does your shadow follow you around? And your shadow gets distorted. Your shadow can look like all bent over, all out of shape. It can look elongated. It can look short, truncated. It can look cut off because it gets, something else gets in the way. These shadows are human thought that are setting up a false narrative and casting a shadow world over the pure awareness of the Godhead that knows no evil, no sickness, no disease, no temporal material dream, no loss, no aging, no decline. None of these human opinions. Opinion means no ground, no fact. All of these human opinions are simply motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. Like you used to look in the window and you'd see all the dust particles. The Vedic scripture says infinite worlds appear and reappear in the vast expanse of consciousness like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. That is what you call your physical world. It is being picked up by your sense perception from human thought, human belief. You turn away from human thought and human belief to the principal idea that God is all, God is love, God is ever present, God fills all space. God and goodness are one and the same. Harmonious relating is the only factual principle. And you need to know more of these facts. You have to stand on the facts of life in your thought so that they get into your heart, because out of the heart come the issues of life. The world has gotten into your heart. It's blanketed you with its boogeyman. It's like the dark shadow came over you and it comes to scare you. That's why they called it the terror. They called it the realm of ignorance in the ancient Gospels. They said that she pursues those who had turned away from the truth. In other words, all suffering, all human suffering, is ignorance of the Father. The Father is all, has all, and does all, which means there are not 7 billion people on this planet. There's only one living manifestation of God, that is the Son, which means descendant, that is the Christ. You know it as your living imagination. You think you have an imagination. The imagination actually lives you. There's the fact. You don't have a physical body. That's a false spiritual counterfeit fiction. Life itself doesn't have mortality in it. Life is eternal. Life is a principle. The mortality belief that creates a human body is a counterfeit dream that is a perishable rag that you've been carrying in thought because you were indoctrinated into it through the false teachings of what you call your school system, which is the public fool system, or the private fool system. It doesn't matter which one you went to. They taught you about anatomy. They taught you about physiology. They taught you about government. They taught you that there are levels of learning, and all of these arguments brought you into Babylon. They are the sorcery of Egypt that have been bringing shadows into your thought. creating a false universe that you call your physical world, and that's exactly what it is. Your job is to devour matter within yourself. That's what the Gospel of Truth says in the Nag Hammadi Library. Naghammadi, Nag Hammadi Library, Gospel of Truth. Watch it, read it, listen to it, do whatever you want, again and again and again. These teachings have been removed from the mainstream canon of biblical theology for a very good reason. Because when you know them, you leave the world. You leave the dream. You exit the matrix. And the rulers, the sorcerers who have hijacked the gospel, that always counterfeit truth with the artifice of it, they put on their costumes and they sell you the water baptism and all the things that you're supposed to do. They're counterfeiting a truth. The water baptism is a counterfeit of water, meaning thought, and being baptized means to be in the pure mind of God so that you are cleansed from the idea of mortality. Again, watch my talk on the book of Thomas. Now is the time for thinkers. Now is the time for spiritual enthusiasts to grow up. Now is the time for you to mature in Christ and to be atoned as Christ. Because there only is Christ. There is no Christ and then you. You're not trying to get to perfection. You're coming from it. You have to work diligently to prove the principle. You have to work it out like a math problem. You have to learn how to take the steps and sort out your own salvation this way. This is the path. This is the mission. This is what Spiritual Special Forces is about. We are here. We are right here for you. And you have not made a mistake because there are no mistakes in God's perfect creation. So join us and level up. Or don't. It's completely up to you. But I don't see any other way out of this. I don't see how you're going to get through what's already been planned for you. And that's why maybe just right now you're reading or hearing or listening to this message. Back for another transmission. I just did one about 2 hours ago. And I've got the day to finish these hikes. I'm going to try to do, well, I'm not going to try. I'm going to do 10 miles today. And I think tonight I'm going to work out later. So that'll be a good active day. Meanwhile, I'm doing a lot of reflection. So I want to do some reflective work with you. I want to go through, well, let's go through a few different watch protocols. So what we can do is practice and train. And this is something you want to do hourly, if possible. And if you can't do it hourly, try to do it like morning, afternoon, and evening. And if you can't do it then, well, try to do it morning and evening. Try to control your morning and your night. And if you can't do that, well, maybe just, tithe the first 15 minutes of your time to God first thing in the morning and do it then. Set up the parameters of your day. There's nothing that you can consider wasted when you give to God. When you're doing something for God, anything that you do to please God will never go unnoticed or unrewarded. Seriously. This is a relationship thing you got going on. All right, watch duty number 1, finances. I always start with a root. Okay, you want to start with a root. Take your mind to principle-based reasoning, starting with a foundational root so you can build up from there. Okay, first thought. My conscious awareness within me of God within as my supply is my supply. Okay, now I'm going to start PTTing. The PTT is we're using, well, like a metronome. We're going to break apart the continuity of evidence. Now in law, that would be, well, there's no There's no law if we break apart the continuity of evidence that can enforce it. Okay, so if there's no continuity, then we have nothing to make a claim against your life. So whatever's troubling you, financially speaking, is making a claim against your life. And it's taking you before the judge, before the... Now you look at the judge in terms of how you're judging it. It's you. The mind is judging the situation by appearances, right? So get this. There's a claim coming from the outer, the accuser, coming against you and saying, I am going to bind you and I am going to pass my law onto you, and then we're going to see how you operate with that. It's going to give it to you. Now, you haven't accepted it yet. And well, if you did accept it, then you can step out of it right now. What we got to do first is we have to break it apart, see the nothingness of it, see that it has no root, it has no law. It's called the lawless one for a reason. The enemy of your soul is the lawless one. It's the 5 human senses reporting to you any form of discord, lack, or deficiency. And then human reasoning comes in and says, well, I want something. I want, which is the proof of lack coming into your thought. You shall want for nothing, child of God. You are not a child of this world. So the PTT is, we do it every 4 seconds. We do a snap, or we do a clap, or we do some sort of interrupting the pattern NLP technique. Interrupt the pattern. You want to stop that train of thought from continuing its motion. Why every 4 seconds? Because human reasoning, human thought takes place about every 3 seconds. So we want to break apart that evidence. What it does is it takes a snapshot image of something that essentially means nothing. Oh, you saw a bill in the mail, you didn't like it, right? It doesn't mean anything. And I'll prove it to you. The only reason it means something to you is because you think that your human is responsible for that bill. And you judge according to everything that you've done in that realm to meet that need. Now, the irony is that your human carnal self is no more responsible to meet that need than your video game character in the metaverse would be. Well, neither one of them are real. But yet you say, well, it's very real because if I don't pay the bill, they're going to take this car or this house or this thing away from me, or they're going to, charge me interest or something. You come up with all this. That's the evidence we need to break apart. We need to stop you thinking that way. Okay? Now, the principle here is that God's supply never runs dry, and that supply and demand are always in perfect equilibrium in spiritual creation, where God owns all, has all, does all, and is all. You want to demonstrate that you know the truth, is what I'm telling you. If you can demonstrate that you know the truth, then the dream of lack disappears. It either gets met by the outer coming into alignment, or it dissolves and just fades away. It's not your job to properly remove of it. It's the job of truth itself, the double-edged sword that it is, to penetrate through the smog and the darkness and to destroy the false claim. It's a claim against God's perfect creation. So you simply say, well, it cannot be. There is no man here that has a debt that he can't pay. Cannot be. Because God's substance fills all space, and God's law is of perfect supply and demand, always in equilibrium. And God's supply never runs dry, so there never is a deficiency that is unmet anywhere in God's creation. Now, to sum that up, divine love always has and always will meet every human need. There's the third thought. Divine love always has and always will meet every human need. Now, I just derived that in real time. And if you don't know the PTT, I've done a training video on that in the private Discord group. You can go watch that, take the PTT, do the training. Simple, simple, simple. Divine love always has and always will meet every human need. Not just finances, but it does include finances. Now, that's a good watch duty. Now, you stay on that watchfulness until that thought comes into contact with the appearances that seem to be lacking, and you feel an inner sense of peace, knowing in your heart that all is well, and then your watch duty is complete. Okay, now let's have some real fun. I'm going to take you on a watch duty, and we're going to do one for well-being. Well, again, I scanned and I saw well-being. I thought, well, there's been this issue going on with, I'd say, within the human idea of nerves lately that's trying to impose itself upon me, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a watch duty and show you how I rise in spiritual alignment and come against that claim, okay? So the first thing is I want to start destroying the evidence of that. Now, I can easily start with God's substance fills all space and God is spiritual, never material. Start with a root. What do I know to be true? God's substance fills all space and God is spiritual, never material. Again, if you don't know these things, you need to start learning the truths about God. We don't try to heal sickness. We get to know God. The answer is not to heal a condition. It's to know God. To know God aright is to dissolve anything unlike God that seems to be appearing in your reality. God's substance fills all space, and it's spiritual, never material.
Let's go, Beth.
God's wisdom governs all and is in perfect order. Hello. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You got a Mr. Beast shirt on, huh?
Mr. Beast, yep.
Yeah.
So God's wisdom governs all and is running a perfect universe. God's wisdom governs all and it's running a perfect universe. Beautiful. All I'm doing is thinking this thought, and I'm surrendering the body, the concept of the human body, letting it go, just letting it fade off into the distance. It's just a thought. It's a persistent thought, but it's just a thought. It's a human belief. Human beliefs are not wisdom. They are temporal. They're fleeting. Okay? Just breaking the continuity, holding my mind on that thought. That God's wisdom governs all, and He's running a perfect universe. God's man never came into contact with any harmful threat. There's the bread of life right there, the third thing. God's man, his manifest, his reflection, which is the only living substance, which is what all life is. So if you exist in life, this applies to you. Okay? If you exist and have life, it applies to you. All right? God's man never came into contact with anything harmful. Well, can God's reflection reflect any sort of discord back to God? No. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. That's the truth. I'm going to keep with that truth until I feel complete peace about it. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. Even though the five human sense illusion says otherwise, we know that there is no history, there's only capital H, his hyphen story. God's man never came in contact with anything harmful or threatening. I'm just going to stay on the watch duty till I feel the peace. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. I'm resting on this. God's man never came into contact with any harmful or threatening. I'm trying to move it from my head to my heart. It must move from here to here. You're not done until it moves from here to here. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God wouldn't permit it. God would never allow for anything unlike himself. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. So now I'm starting to look at it from different angles, okay? I'm starting to chew on that bread. I'm eating the bread of life here. I'm consuming it so my spirit man can be filled. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. Now, this may take 10 minutes. I don't know how long this will take, but I want to go until I feel the peace. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. I know God's will is never broken. God's will would have to be broken for something like that to happen, and that never happened. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. God would have had to lose control of his universe in order for that to happen, and he didn't. God's man never came into contact with anything harmful or threatening. There we go, I felt it. I felt the Christ. Now, what I told you early in this video is you do the work, you turn back in your thought, and the Christ comes, the Comforter comes over you. The Comforter descends down upon you. That's the Christ coming to meet your needs. I felt it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay. Now, you keep doing this. Now, here's what I got to tell you. If you don't get a complete healing or a complete demonstration the first time you do this, you don't worry about it. Every time you touch the hem of his garment, which is what I just did, I kept going until I touched the hem, which means the peace of Christ descended upon me, and I felt free from all concerns over it because I knew in my heart that this was true. You do it again, and you do it again, and you pray without ceasing until the dream in the night breaks. You never, ever quit. You've been equipped with all that you need. You never quit until it is completely gone. Now, the first thing that will happen is you come and you arrest the process of dis-ease, lack of ease that's trying to come into your human experience. That's not enough, though. You must persist until you completely destroy all of that underlies it. And each time you do the PTT, you're going to get a different bread of life. So the first thing that comes to mind is you always go to a root. You root yourself. And if you don't know what to do, just God is love and God is all. Like, think of the idea of God filling all space, and that's nothing but love. And love is holding itself together intact, and you live in that self. And there is no other self. And you just sit there and you think about that. And you turn in your thought to that wisdom and you say, come to me, wisdom. I love wisdom. And you should love wisdom. Pour love out of your heart for wisdom and seek her. And she will never forsake thee. All things work together for good for those who love God. You have to do this. The world is an illusion. Remember the name of the game here. Remember what I taught you in the first 30 minutes of this video. Unfolding your potential is the name of the game. Look, you were chosen to be on the special forces path for spirituality. That's why you're here. These are the teachings that are going to get you in a whole lot of mess with the world mind coming against you with all of its claims, because as you rise in truth, error also rises up like the great red dragon in the book of Revelations, and then it becomes ripe for destruction. The reason why you chose this path is because it is your final journey. This is it for you. This is the last chapter before you get to go to the next level. You don't get to turn back and reincarnate in the garbage bin and recycle yourself again and again. The book of Thomas explains that perfectly. This is real time. You on a mission here in this dream, coming to know that you are the Christ. This is not a game. This is real. Out here is your teacher. It's a schoolmaster. It's not here to comfort you. The comforter comes from within you. That's what I just did. So every time you do the PTT, you do it in real time. You don't lean on yesterday's bread or the bread you had 10 minutes ago. I go on a watch duty again. Next hour, I'll do another watch duty, and I'll do it until I break the continuity of this thing and destroy it. Whatever you're working through, you stay with it. And you go in real time. The first thought is a principal root. The second thought that'll come from that comes from the divine mind itself, because now you're holding to a root. So therefore, it's drawing more like itself to you. Wisdom is coming through that portal right to you. The next thought is the filler. You want that third thought. That third thought that comes is the heart of the matter. 3, 6, 9. Everything's in threes in this universe. Your mind will give it to you on the third suggestion. That's your bread that you chew on for that particular watch duty. Not for all time, just for that particular watch duty. You carry forward the watch duty till you feel peace. Once you feel the peace, you can move on. And then come back to the watch duty again. And come back. And come back. Until the dream ends. All of it. This is your assignment for the rest of this gig here while you're on this trajectory of living in the 3D human dimension. Part-time. You're a part-time human being. You're trying to get out of that because that's corruptibility, and God wants you to ascend out of corruptibility. This is your final time through this maze. So take it seriously this time. If you will persist as others have persisted, you will succeed as others have succeeded. You will see the falling away of a fear or a compulsion. It will fall away like an arrow in the midst of flight because you no longer give it the wings to fly. A teacher can only take you so far. They can show you the path. Follow the light. But you have to rise in the strength of your spirit and rebel. You have to stand up against this world of lies and ignorance and say, no, you are not the authority. You are not governing me. God is running a perfect universe. Right where I stand is holy ground. And I choose where my focus and energy goes. Because where my focus goes, that's where my life journey unfolds. And I'm unfolding my potential, not more corruption, more discord, more strife, the law of strife. I am now under the law of the Spirit. I am now one with the Father, the divine mind within me. You put your spiritual cojones in your hand and say, I got this. And stop pretending that you are of this world, because this world is not it. Let's close with a meditation. Close your eyes. Go into a ball of white light in your heart center. Take yourself down through your feet, down into the earth. Gather up all the core grounding energies in that ball of white light. Bring yourself back up in this ball of white light through your feet, up through your waist, and go up and out the top of your head. Go up into the sky. Go up through the clouds. Go up into space. Go through the dark and the light and the dark and the light. Go through a thick jelly-like substance called the laws. Go up and out of there. You'll see a pink light off in the distance. Just avoid that. You'll see a window open up with a miraculous, sublime, iridescent, warming, comforting invitation. Just step into that realm and rest and free yourself from all concerns of this world, because you are not of it. You are of the light. Now you just stay in this spot, and I'm going to send you a download that will unpack all of the deep teachings that you've learned in this transmission and the previous one from the book of Thomas, so that the aha revelations will not only come to you, but will stick with you if you choose to. I can't infringe upon your free will, but I can help you see what's missing. So just rest there in the quietude of silence, and I'll let you know when we're complete. Be in the receptivity of that and receive it. Good. Now cleanse yourself off in a golden light. And bring yourself down in this ball of white light, down through your head, down through your feet. Go down into the earth and ground yourself. And bring yourself back up into your body and open your eyes. Now you may be feeling slightly altered, slightly more enlightened, just lightening the load. Do the work. Nobody's going to do it for you. This is the only work that pays off in the end. Not in the short term, not in the long term, in the end. And the end is a lot sooner than you think. Focus on your highest priority target. Your highest priority target is to know the Father at this time. Everything of this world is trying to distract you. Don't fall into the temptation of it. This world is not it. Know the Father aright, and let the Father open up the heavenly realm, not the hell that this is. This is the world of strife, although it looks beautiful here, because the heavens are opening up. Open up the heavenly realm within your consciousness, and wherever you are, the Father will make a way for you. The Father will provide for you. The Father will anoint you. The Father will exalt you in your humility to know that you can't do it without the Father. Where you are weak, He is strong. Remain humble and unafraid. The formula to do the work is to remain humble and unafraid. Refuse to fear. Nothing pisses the enemy off more than when you refuse to fear, because then you turn the weapon of the enemy and direct it right to the Father, and the enemy goes up against the Father in you.
Baby, stop.
And that's always a losing battle for the enemy. And that's why it pisses him off, because unless you fear, the enemy can't hold you. Daniel in the lion's den didn't fear. Paul in the prison didn't fear. The whole walls shook and the doors opened. You have to know that the only thing that can bind you to the threats and claims of this world is when you give your heart to another God, and that God is fear. The false evidence appearing real, FEAR acronym, means all objects in time and space that you see with your lying human eyes that are trying to give you a subjective story that comes from a corrupted carnal mind, and it's coming through the data sphere, looking to install itself like a zip file and open up a program that plays out through you, because if you're not the host, it has nowhere to go. And you have to have fear to host it. If you refuse to fear, you pass it over to the Father, and it comes up against the Father. Exodus 14:14, if I hold my peace, the Father fights my battles. If all hell breaks loose, just hold your peace and hold your truth. And say to the world, you never had a root. You never came into being. You are just a deep state of mental hypnosis that is subjectively held by the carnal mind, and you have nothing to do with life. For I and my Father are one, and his life is my life, and there was never anything else created. I am blameless, I am innocent, and I am as safe as God. And say that right to your adversary, right to your accuser. Agree quickly with thine adversary. You don't push up against him, because why would you push up against nothing? It's a nothing coming at you. You agree that it's nothing. That's what you agree with. Okay, that's enough for today. You know what to do. Do the work. Others around you need you to do the work. Your consciousness at a high vibration, knowing these skills, is going to, already does, and will uphold thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions collectively who are seeking the light. They are lifted by you doing this work. This is not about you. This is about the allness coming into its own unfoldment through you. So you have God backing you. Selah.